Welcome everybody to week 3 in the Strong One, the Unburdening. This week we are stepping into a topic that almost every strong one struggles with, and that is all things boundaries. And you've been following along for weeks 1 and 2. Maybe you have noticed that these have kind of slowly been building on each other and really almost preparing us for this week as well. So week 1 was really about checking in with ourselves, making that list, seeing how much of the green, the yellow, and the red that we were doing. Week 2, really about starting to see the patterns and maybe the places that we overextend and overgive. And now here at week 3, we're just asking you to gently start to notice your edges, because you can't protect your energy if you first don't have an understanding of where you end and then where the world begins, right? So boundaries are not rigid rules or walls. They are more like energetic edges that can help keep us anchored in our truth. And they really are not selfish, even though sometimes it can feel selfish as we are holding boundaries. So let's start with looking at, most of us who identify as a strong one, things that we have learned early, which we have talked about, that love is conditional, or that being easy or helpful or self-sufficient really earned us that approval, right? We start to become experts at tuning into everyone else's needs while completely shutting down and missing our own. So we start to say yes. Even when we're exhausted, we start to show up when no one else is showing up for us. And we start to carry these things, not just because we're asked to, but it's because we can, right? And over time, that starts to become our identity. The caretaker, or, the reliable one, or the one who's always okay. We can always ask for help. But here's the cost of it. Without boundaries, we don't just start to lose our energy. We actually start to lose parts of ourselves. We shapeshift into who everybody else needs us to be. And then, one day we have that realization. We wake up and we realize we don't know what we really want, or what do I need, or what does peace feel like to me? And this is when the body starts to whisper, right? Those symptoms like the fatigue, maybe it's irritability, resentment, maybe it's numbness. These are signals. This is our system trying to show us that the weight of everything we've been carrying is no longer ours to carry, right? So now we're going to talk a little bit about energy flow and bringing your awareness to that. So I want you to imagine your energy like a current running through your body, right? So through your feet, into your belly, into your heart, out through your hands, into the world. When you have healthy boundaries, that current is strong, the current is steady. We give, we receive, we have downtime to recharge. But when our boundaries become porous, that energy starts to leak. So it could be overgiving, over-explaining, people-pleasing, things where we start to end up feeling tired, frustrated, and even physically unwell. And if our boundaries are the opposite, they're too rigid, we actually stop letting in anything at all. And we start to protect everything so rigidly, so fiercely. We become disconnected from joy and love and all of those good things too. So it's not that we want to stop the flow. We want to learn how to guide it. So healthy boundaries don't shut people out. They actually allow you to stay in your truth while staying open to connection. And this is that awareness piece. So just check in with yourself about this week. Where do you feel the most drained right now? Or what are you doing that isn't giving back to you? Where in your life are you still trying to prove your worth by saying yes? And this isn't judgment. This is awareness, because awareness is when that current starts to actually shift, right? Bringing that non-judgmental awareness. So we're going to talk a little bit about viewing it through like a wall or a window, okay? So take into awareness this experience, and we're going to bring it from your mind into your body. So really embodying how this is going to feel. So take a deep breath. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes for a moment. And I want you to imagine yourself standing in front of someone in your life. Maybe it's a friend or a partner, a colleague, a boss. Could be somebody you care deeply about, and maybe they leave you feeling drained, or maybe they leave you feeling small. So I want you to imagine a thick brick wall in front of you. It's solid, unmovable, heavy. And notice what that feels like in your body. How are your shoulders feeling? Do you feel safe? Maybe disconnected? We can't actually see them, we can't feel them, but we have this protection in front of us. Now take a deep breath and imagine that wall begin to dissolve, and in front of you there's a clear window. The heaviness starts to lift. You can still see that person on the other side, but there's a little bit of space in choice. So you can choose to open this window when you feel like connecting. You can choose to close this window when you feel like you need some rest. You can add a curtain on it. You can dim the window. You can step back from it. And just notice how that feels different in your body. That is the energetic distinction between having a wall saying, I can't trust myself to stay safe, so I'm going to shut everyone and everything out. And then a boundary that's saying, I trust myself and my needs so deeply that I can stay open, but still understand how to protect my peace. So when we get to decide when that is open and when to close, that's really what true freedom starts to feel like, and really healthy boundaries, okay? So let's bring this into real life a little bit. So think about your own life. Where do you notice yourself building walls? Or maybe really going quiet or withdrawn. Maybe it's numbing or pretending you're fine. And then where are you wide open, saying yes to everything, right? Letting everything in constantly. Maybe you're adjusting yourself to please others. And maybe you notice a little bit of both. Oftentimes we can swing between the two of these, right? We overgive until we start to burn out, and then we end up pulling away completely. And this is where awareness helps us to find that peaceful middle ground. The place where we can still stay soft, but strong, and open, but protected. And maybe just start asking yourself, where do I feel most alive right now? And who brings that out in me? Or what situations bring that out in me? And what situations or people are leaving me feeling constricted and small? And jot them down if you want to. You can come back to this. It's about noticing the patterns, where our energy is feeling expansive, where that yes comes in, and where it's contracting, where that no is coming in. And this is where, when we start to bring that awareness, we actually start to recalibrate our nervous systems in a really beautiful way. And awareness is really the important work. This is the deeper layer behind the strong one. The awareness truly brings everything else that we are going to build upon. So week after week, what we're doing here is learning how to listen again, right? Getting out of the mind, listening to our body, our intuition, feeling that energy, because we cannot set authentic boundaries from our head, right? We can think about them, but how does that feel? What is our felt sense about them? And we need to be aware in our body enough to recognize the difference of where we get that expansive yes and where we get that contracting no. We really need to listen. And that's why we started with that presence and slowing down, because awareness truly comes before every sustainable change we have. Because if we don't have that awareness, our boundaries just become these like rigid rules And when we have awareness in there, they become flexible. They start to give us more of our own energy and our own personal power back. And this is something, as you practice, it grows and it deepens, and you really start to get to know and understand yourself on a different level. It's like a muscle that we're building. So our patterns could be our emotions and our stories, and now we are learning to listen and find where those edges are. And that is where the unburdening comes in. It's the moment that we start to realize we do not have to hold everything for everyone else anymore. And now we're going to do a little bit of like an integration part. So as you move through the week, I don't want you to rush to change things. This is not about change, okay? We're not going to be drawing these hard lines in the sand or having these really difficult conversations with people unless it's starting to feel right for you. But we are just starting with the awareness. So notice the small moments that you start to feel that pull in your gut. Something's just not feeling right. So notice the conversations that leaving you buzzing with a good energy, with connection, or the conversations and the situations that leave you depleted. So start focusing on those body signals that arise as you start to say no and yes. Your body, I promise you, is going to tell you everything you need to know. And when you start to catch yourself feeling guilty for needing that space or needing rest, guilt doesn't mean that we have done something wrong. It can sometimes in the beginning be evidence that we're just stepping outside of that role that we have been so conditioned to play for so long. And that's actually growth, and it's healing, and that's your unburdening. So as we continue to go through this program, everything we continue to do from here, the emotional work, the nervous system work, the somatic work, the identity work, all of this embodiment is going to rest on the foundation of awareness, because awareness starts to create choice. Choice comes from where we feel aligned, and when we start to have an alignment, that's when we start to create more space and freedom in our lives. So this week, we're just noticing our energy. I want you to notice your edges and what is truly yours and what was never yours to hold on to. Every time you come home to yourself a tiny little bit more. And this is really the heart of what we're doing, right? It's not pushing harder, not doing all the things, not the checklist. It's remembering our own truth, our own aliveness, and really working on each week in a way that feels good to us, showing up for the embodiment practices. And again, you don't have to show up live, doing the recordings, maybe coming back to the recordings partway through the week and doing them again, because as you continue to do this work, not only are you going to notice, you start to get these little pauses where you can start to shift your mindset about what's going on in your life, but you start to bring new awareness every time you do those same embodiment practices. So at the beginning, they might be a little bit uncomfortable. They might feel a little bit awkward, but the second time or the third time you go through that same practice, when your body is starting to feel a little bit safe to slow down, your mind can kind of drop off, more starts to come to the surface. You start to learn and understand more about yourself, what your yeses are, what your nos are, starting to feel those edges, starting to feel what healthy boundaries